This episode of Love Lauren is sponsored by SB Fabrication and Parts.
It's time to get our small chain on this drum sprocket and the inside of this intermediate clutch sprocket at the back. I want to do that now before we do anything else because it's a tight working quarters back there, so getting that little chain in place before we do anything else just makes it a little bit easier. What I've got is a new set of chains, a new set of 3 chains ready to go here. From memory, I replaced the top sprocket and this double sprocket on the reel as well. It's sort of generally advisable to replace your chains and sprockets together if you can, if it makes sense to do so, of course. Sometimes the sprocket won't be worn, but the chains do stretch, so I figured it might be best to just start fresh. I do have a video showing some close-ups of chain disassembly and reassembly, so check that out if you're getting lost. The process is pretty straightforward. It looks like this chain's got some lube on it already. We'll put some more lube on here once the machine's back up and running order anyway. I'm pretty comfortable that I don't need to add anything else at this stage. So I've got our chain, we've got our 2 ends, the little split link, the connector clip that goes over the top, and the little retainer clip. So it's not rocket science, but the retainer clip, we want to have the closed end facing in the direction that the chain is moving. As I say, tight working quarters back here, and it's easier for such chains to end up where they shouldn't be. They're heavy, they're awkward, and in some cases they might be a little bit on the greasy side as well. So I'll just sort of drape that over there for now. Obviously I've shot myself in the foot because I can't get that link in there just yet with the sprocket in place, so I'll just take that back a little bit, and yeah, there's definitely lots of grease in there. You can see it sort of popping through that hole, and it's really tricky working on the sprockets directly here, so I'm just going to try and spin that around a tiny little bit. And it's quite possible as well that I've got the bracket on here too tight, so let's think about dropping that down a little bit just to make life a little bit easier on ourselves. So I think I do have that up a little bit on the higher side at the moment. That one's push this down. There we go. Just try and pick that up again. Close. I don't know if you can see back there, but almost. Now I've got a tooth in the way. Okay, so that's sort of on there. Losing my mind, losing my bits. Those 2 posts have now come through the 2 ends of that chain, so that's what we want. Got a lot of slack in here right now. You probably can't see it, but it's the chain's really sort of sagging back there, but that's fine. Without pushing that post out of place, I'm just going to try and get that clip over the 2 posts. I'll be able to get the thing off again in the future, so tiny little smear of grease or oil, whatever you've got. And hopefully that will just keep that from seizing in place. So if you look closely at this clip, there's a little sort of circular cutout section, and you can sort of use that to kind of line things up. Nickel screwdrivers are really handy for this job. I'll start by sliding it over the top post, which narrows, and just kind of pop it into place. It's obviously a little bit on the stiff side. And that's on there now. A little test. It's It's rotating nicely. My clutch is spinning without moving this guy. If we pull that lever in, the operating lever, you can see how that all enrolls together. And we're set. With our reel now roughly set, we're ready to get the remainder of our chains on. I think it makes sense in the context of a rebuild to do that after you've set your reel, because you can then spin the reel without the chains trying to move against clutches and just getting in the way and create a bit of friction. So I've got a new set of chains. I've got one long one for this section and one long one for this section. It's worth noting that the chain pitches are different, and the chains are actually a slightly different length as well. One's a little bit longer, so just kind of needs to have a look and figure it out really. So I'm just going to pop that, so I'll just lay the chain over the top really, and you'll see how it fits on there, just how it lays on the sprocket really. I don't know if you can see that, but in particular down the bottom here, this chain just won't go on there, so it's obviously the wrong chain for that location. But this chain fits very nicely on these sprockets, so that obviously belongs there. So in this packet of chains I've got some extra bits and pieces. I've got the little post and plate that connects everything together, and over here I've got a little half link to extend the length of the chain if it's required. So for example, as the available metal on the reel starts to disappear through sharpenings, it makes sense that you may need to lengthen your chain basically. So let's test the fit of this chain. I'm just going to get it around. Now you may be wondering, why have I replaced the chains? There's two reasons. One, the chain can stretch, and I guess with the old chains I just didn't know the state of them, so I thought it might be wise to do. It looks like it's going to need the half link in there. Let's have a look with our little split link first. And the other reason is that there's a good little demonstration. I've got the chain on here now, but on the Bonnar page and the restorations group page not too long ago, there's a little test that you can do to see how much sort of, if you put the chain down, I think it was, you can see how much sort of play there is sort of side to side basically, and then you can begin to understand if the chain's in a good way or not. So I put the little split link in there and I can see we're just we're not quite going to make it, but I think with that half link we probably would. Alright, so we've got our new chain laid out down here. It's got the two holes for connecting it either to the split link or adding in a half link if we need to, and that's what we're going to do now. So our little baggie, one of many, comes with the half link itself, which has one hole in it like that and another hole sort of down there. It's got a chain pin with a hole, a very tiny hole just at the end, and it's got a little flat, if you can see that, just on the edge as well. And there's a very, very tiny little split pin that goes through the end of that hole from the square side and allows us to then wrap it around the end of that pin. And it's worth noting as well that this half link has a regular hole on this side, and on this side the hole has a little flat which mates with the flat on the pin, so it basically can't rotate. And in other words, the pin has to pass through that first hole and then come out of the second hole in alignment with that flat. So something to bear in mind. So in other words, if we're working in this direction, pushing the pin up through like that, we need to line it up so that the rounded hole is on the bottom. And then our pin fits through just like so. And of course we've got our little split pin, which I'm going to pass through the square face of that chain pin. And I'm just going to use my fingernail, just once it's aligned, to open it up so it doesn't fall out. As if you can see that, it's rounded at the top end anyway, so it will stay in place there. I'll just do the same with the other side. And so with it opened up like that, we can check the fit of our chain link again, of our chain on the sprockets, and look at getting it installed. So again, I've just draped the chain back over here, wrapped around the sprockets. I can see that with a little bit of love, we can join that chain up now. And then with the chain adjuster, we can get a good tension on that, how we want it. That little little split pin in place, that little cover plate, that's the chain side for it. So just holding that from behind, and squeeze that together to get it on there. And then we've got our little clip again. And line that up, give it a little push, maybe with the help of a little screwdriver, just to open the ends up a touch. There we go, and that's on now. So you can see that clip's in place now, how we want it. And the closed end is facing in the direction of travel. I'll just close up this little split pin next. Just going to use a pair of pliers and try and wrap it around this curved end. I might just use my fingers initially, just to get it started, so you can see that sort of butterflying out now. I'm just going to wrap it all the way around. I don't anticipate having to take this half link out anyway, so there's no reason why it can't be well and truly locked in there. And I'll just give it a little pinch if I can, just to completely close it up. I don't want it coming out. There we go. So that's done now. So we can tension this chain in a minute. I'll get the other chain on first, I think, just to set the tension on the back chain before we do this chain, because this one's a little bit easier. Yeah, we'll just tighten up the bolt on this side to secure this guy in place. Let's get the last chain in place now. Very similar to the other long one, but there's a different pitch. So let's check the length of this chain and see if it's going to give us what we need. I suspect we'll also need the half link, but let's have a look. Yeah. I'm also going to drop this intermediate clutch down a bit further, just so we have a little bit of extra wiggle room to connect up the split link. Before we get this this next chain on, I've loosened off this intermediate clutch, and I just want to show you what happens with the rear roller when this chain is too loose. We roll this forward and then roll it back. Everything kind of jams up, and then the poles lock inside the roller for some reason. So that's because this clutch is too low on its bracket. The chain's too loose, so it needs to be in a tighter position. And if we just hold it for now, you can see that's going to work properly. If it's not, if it's too loose, that rear roller is just going to lock up when we pull it backwards. Just something to be aware of. If it's not your chain tension, it's going to be the tightness of this bolt, which you can loosen off, and basically your clutch is going to be engaged. Alright, so I'll drape the chain under that little chain case cover and over the big sprocket and bring it around just like so. And just bring the whole contraption off that sprocket so it's a little bit easier to connect up as well. With our split link now, which comes out of the bag, we've got here our little post. It's going to go through one hole in the chain. Just made sure my split pin on this half link is facing outwards so I can close that off in time. I'm going to connect those up so they're just hanging in space. And get our little chain side, pop it over like so. And again, our direction of travel is going to be like this in terms of the chain. So we want the closed end of this clip facing that way, the open end facing that way. So I'm just going to line that up and try and just slide it in over the other end of the post. I'll just close off this split pin as well. So now we can review the tension of our rear roller, which will adjust the lower chain tension as well as the tension on this chain. So it's a multi-faceted exercise, multi-directional exercise, and then we'll come back and worry about the tension on this chain.